Before we get started today, I'm going to show you the tools that you're going to need and what you're going to get in your kit. So what you'll need is a Phillips and a flathead screwdriver, a 10mm socket or wrench, a 4mm Allen key, a 5/16 drill bit, a 1/4-inch drill bit, a drill to use your drill bits. Some sort of clamp is very helpful. It's not necessarily needed. And then some pliers or an insert puller like this. Now that we've got all the tools covered, we're going to go over what you're going to receive in your kit as far as flaps and hardware. So right here we have your rear upper, your rear lower, and the 2 brackets to secure the rear upper. This is the hardware that's included. And then here we have the front lower and the front upper and all the included hardware. Alright, now that we're at the front end of the vehicle, what you're going to want to start with is your plug puller, and you're going to want to pull the 3 plugs up here. 1, 2, and 3, leaving the very front one and the very rear one along the top. We'll set those aside and we'll be reusing those. Next, you'll want to pull the 5 lower ones from here, 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 and here. We'll set those to the side as well. Now what we're going to do is we're going to mount our lower piece first, the colored section of the flap. And how you'll want to do this is you'll take 5 of the large inserts and put them in those OEM locations. Okay, with those in place, you'll take your 1-inch screws supplied in the kit and screw and some washers, and we'll go ahead and get that mounted up. Go ahead, get started with the top one. Get it just barely snug, and then we'll move on to the next one. Alright, now with all of your screws started, you'll want to go ahead and align this corner with the body line that's there. That's a good starting point to make sure everything else aligns properly. Now we'll snug them all down. Alright, with those all snug, you'll want to take your drill and your 5/16 drill bit. And get that set up. And with that, you'll want to just align it into these holes and drill into the fender. Once you've drilled into there, you'll take the remaining 2 of the large inserts, and they should press into those 5/16 holes. Nice and snug. Alright, and now that that is good, we are ready to start mounting the upper. Alright, so to start with your upper, you'll go ahead and bend these tabs upwards, so that way they're just past 90 degrees. And what we're going to do is take 3 of the OEM inserts from that location, hold it up into position, and press those in, one at a time. go. All right, once those are in, you can take your helpful clamp, clamp it around there while we work on this section here. Next, you're going to need the 1.5" screws provided with your kit, along with a couple of washers and the provided spacer. The spacer has oversized holes because it's going to sit behind all of the flaps and cover over top of the inserts that are there. And as you're doing this, you'll just want to push the flap up into position until all the holes align, and then this line should match with the fender right here. Good. All right, now that you've got that, just kind of grab it here from the side, make that aligned, and then you'll want to eliminate the gap on the back side over here. And once that's good, then you can go ahead and crank both of these down to lock that into position. You just want to snug these up. They don't need to be too tight, as you can strip them out. Good and snug, and that is nice and in position. Fills in this gap over here nicely to offer awesome protection. Next, we're going to go ahead and get this clamp just a little bit to the side here, so we can go ahead and drill our holes through the fender up here for our last and final mounting points. All right, for these last and few final mounting points, you'll just want to drill straight up through the plastic, in the center of the hole here. And here. There we go. For these 3 locations, we're going to be using the supplied 35mm countersunks with the countersunk dress washers. You'll need your 4mm Allen key, your 10mm, and the spacers, the last of the large washers, and the lock nuts. So we'll go ahead, remove this. We'll start with the front here, actually the back. We'll go ahead and put our 15mm spacer in, take one of our washers, our nylock nuts, and just hand start it, just a few threads, so you can still get access to inside. Next one, same thing, 15mm spacer on top of it, washer, nylock nut, press it down through the hole, get it started, a few threads, that's all you need. And last, we'll get this front one in here. Just kind of separate the fender flare mud flap from the fender. Go ahead. Might have to push that up a little bit. Take your little clip. I'll help you get that started. Get a little pressure on there. Okay. Alright, now that you've got all your hardware started, you can go ahead and just tighten that up. Good. Now after you've gotten all of your hardware tightened, that's the front. Looks very clean. Comes up, no gap here. That follows that line, and the lower follows that line up at this top edge right here. And that's how you know it's on correct. All right, so now to prepare the rear for install, it's easier to do this on the bench. So we'll take our flap, take our M6 clips. You'll need 2 of them for the rear. You'll push them up through their groove here. And you want to make sure the extruded part is on the textured side or facing upward. We'll do that with the second one here. It just pushes through and locks into place like so. All right, now that we have those in place, we'll take a dress washer, 20mm countersunk screw, placed on this side, and we're gonna go ahead and get that flipped over. Now what we're gonna do is we're going to pre-install our brackets. This side of the bracket, which follows the same shape of the rear of the flap, gets mounted here along with a washer, a lock nut on that 20mm countersunk on the rear hole, and then for the front hole with the M6 clip, you're going to use a 25mm button head, like so, and that one is going to be tucked up behind your fender, so you'll have access to undo it and loosen it and adjust the bracket on the fly. Alright, and then for the next M6 clip, you'll also take a 25mm button head with a washer and put it through the circle hole, right like so. Keep track of your tools. Don't lose your 4mm, because in our experience, they're a lot like the 10mm socket, the 4mm Allen key. Always lose them. Alright, with those just loosely attached, not crazy tight, we can go ahead over to the vehicle, bend our tabs, and start installing. Alright, now that we're to the rear of the vehicle, up along this edge, you'll want to remove all 3 of these inserts. Okay, we'll set those to the side, and then you'll want to remove the middle 3 inserts back here, along with the one next to the just above the tail light. So we'll start with that one, remove that one, remove that one, and you'll just want to be patient with them. A tool like this, or the flathead that we mentioned earlier, is a great way to get these out. Okay, once you've gotten all those out, you're going to reuse a few, but before you do, you'll go ahead, grab your last M6 clip, you'll place it on the red with the extruded side going into the black piece behind it, and lining up the holes like that, and it should sit back and sit back like flush. Now we're going to take these tabs and bend these tabs down for the rear, and then we're going to go ahead and reuse the OEM inserts for that location, and the tail light location, and that will hold it in place while we go ahead and get started with the rest of our hardware. Pull that up into position, line up your holes, and press it in. Move on to the next one. Now with those in place, we'll take a 25 millimeter button head with a washer, push that up into position. Go ahead and get that started. 4 millimeter. All right, now with that tightened down, you can go ahead and tighten down the other side of that, and then we'll move to the rear here. You want to take your bracket, push it up so it's towards the rear on your bed side. On the other side, you'll have the warning stickers on the inside of the bed. This is back far enough out of the way so that you're not drilling through them. What you're checking for here is you want to lift it up and make sure the flap is level and coming off smooth and not drooping down. So these are adjustable to offer tension to adjust the flap. Go ahead, slide that around to where this surface is meeting the bed side and is flat up against it. Once it's there, we'll go ahead and tighten down our screws on the flap side. And then we'll flip over to the other side back and start turning out with 4 millimeter wrench. Alright. Okay. Now with that adjusted and tightened down, we'll go ahead and add a little tension, making sure that this is flat up against here. And we'll take our 1/4 inch drill bit and drill up at the top of the slot. So that way, as soon as it's there, if you need to add more tension, you can. All right, now that we got that there, we'll take a 20 millimeter countersunk and we'll put that so that way the dress washer is on the inside of the bed. Alright, we'll go ahead and get that tightened down using our tools. Alright, now we're going to move towards the front lower portion of the rear flap. Should be your colored section. I'm just preparing a couple of 20 millimeter countersunk screws with dress washers. And what we're going to do is we're going to line up these 2 exterior holes with the pieces. And we'll go ahead and your colored layer is going to be underneath the black top. And we'll go ahead and get those holes lined up, get our screws through there. Grab a lock nut and a washer and just kind of hand start both of these for now. What we're looking to do is line up this exterior edge where they overlap, crank these 2 down, and then we'll proceed to the 3 mounting points along the fender. All right, now we're going to take our thing for now. Yep. All right, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with our upper hole here. That is going to go through the 2 holes right here, through both pieces of material. But first, we're going to take the 50 millimeter countersunk. You'll need a 15 millimeter spacer, 2 washers, and a nylock nut. So we'll go ahead, get that started. Put a washer on the inside there. Put your 15 millimeter spacer, and then from there it's going to go through both mud flaps, and then to hold it in place we're going to put a washer on the back side and a nylock nut to top it all off. So go ahead, get that hand started. Alright, with that hand started, we'll move to the next one, which is going to be a 40 millimeter countersunk just by itself with a 15 millimeter spacer between it and the flat. And then for these lower two, you're going to use a smaller silver washer to hold it in place, along with a nylock nut. And then for our last one, alright, and last, you'll see this little tab. What you're going to do is push it outward like this and clip it just over the fender edge there to help support that lower portion. Now we're going to go ahead and start our tightening with the top one. What you want to do, you may have this little gap, is you'll just kind of push it in as you're tightening it. And as you hold that in and crank this guy down, we'll keep that in position. Alright, there you go. And then just work your way down. So, with that all tightened down, you are complete. You have a nice sturdy Fender flare.